You are live on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm Nathan, and something's made me happy this week. Going to Brewdog with the boys over the weekend.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It was a good time. Also joined by James. How you going, James? What's something's made you happy?
Well, yeah, I was going to say hanging out with the boys on the weekend.
We had a very good Friday.
Yeah, pretty chill.
Yeah. Also joined by Callum. What's something's made you happy recently, Callum? Come on, dig deep. Something's going to make you happy. What a Warcraft made you happy?
Nah, Slow Horses again. I know I mentioned that a lot, but I've got one episode left. I'll probably finish it after the show.
Did we ever talk about the final season? Because I don't think you had caught up when I had finished it.
I don't think we did.
Alum was still watching it,
I believe Alum's finished the whole show.
Yeah,
so maybe
we're just waiting on you.
When we have a free episode down the line, we should do a Slow Horses special.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the next season's got to be coming out soon.
Yeah, they film them pretty
quick. They're based on books, right? I worry that they're going to run out of books, and then I'm just going to be like, how dare you stop?
I think...
How many books are there?
I think there's 6 or 7, and they're already up to season 5.
I was going to say 7, but like each season's a book, right?
Roughly, yeah. So I'm assuming they'll just do all the books and then end it. I don't think they're going to drag it out.
There's 8 books.
Okay, yeah.
So, inshallah.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll get 8 seasons, and I'll be very happy with 8. That's fine.
Yeah, if they keep up this level of quality and release schedule, it'll be really good to see them complete it.
And then they can release a big fancy 4K box set that I can buy.
Yeah. I haven't read the novels, and I've heard they depart
Doesn't matter.
from the source material. But yeah, what they're doing is pretty good. So from just a TV show. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
We need to get Jackson Lamb on the show.
Jackson Lamb, yeah.
My finger will be hovering over the dump button the whole time.
You pillock.
So Alum's not with us tonight, unfortunately. He's unwell. Mm-hmm. So it's just us three. So I guess we'll start off briefly by discussing our time at Conquest Australia, or Conquest Con, which is a very awkward name for a convention.
Yeah.
Every time, there's some videos up on YouTube. Go have a look at them. We didn't take too many. It was 3 videos.
3
about 5 minutes each-ish.
Roughly.
And every time I had to say, well, I'm here at Conquest Con, my brain slowed down a little.
Yeah.
It was like, it's just Con.
And also there's Chaosium Con, which is coming up. So every time I was going to say Conquest, I mean Chaosium. And every time I'm going to say Chaosium, I mean Conquest. Yeah.
So my brain slowed down every time I had to say Conquest Con because it doesn't roll off the tongue very quickly. But we had a good time. And it was fairly close to us.
Yeah, it was just nearby. So, yeah, it was a good time. It was like a smaller convention than, say, PAX, which is huge. But it's very player focused.
It's volunteer driven as well.
Yes.
In a way, PAX is too, but that's different.
Yeah, it's less corporate than PAX or Comic Con or something. Callum was saying like it's very player focused. So you mostly go there to spend all day or spend as much time as you want playing tabletop games. So it's not really about exhibitions or market stalls or merch or stuff like that. It's just mainly about the tables and the DMs and the players.
Yeah, they had a couple of big, like Chaosium was there and they were selling books.
Yeah.
We talked to Mark O'Brien on one of our YouTube videos. Again, check it out. And they sold dice. They had all the essentials. And then it was kind of divided, I feel, into like your free play with established game systems.
Yep.
And then kind of people testing their own system. So there was a couple there was like a side where it was people, a side of the, what do you call it? Where they had the wall of all the games we played. Like one side.
Like an info wall, yeah.
Huh?
An info wall?
Yeah, like the info wall.
Yeah.
And then one side of it was like people trialing their own games.
Yeah.
So it was kind of divided up into those two halves, which was nice. And you could, I guess, had that kind of element from PAX.
Yeah, which is cool because it's always, interesting to see people making their own stuff and presenting it. So
yeah, and they did a charity drive too, which when we got there, they were already up to like $13,000 donated to charity, which is impressive. Nice. And we got there pretty much, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it went till like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah.
So, good causes.
Yeah.
It's good. I think people should support it.
Yeah.
I think we would go back.
I think next time we should sit down and play a few.
Yeah, unfortunately, because we went on a media pass, the stipulation is we're not allowed to engage with it as a customer. So like we can't. Like,
we could have, but we
we were discussing this on the floor. I don't reckon anyone would have stopped us. I think it might have also been encouraged.
Whether we paid our way or not is not the point.
No, I'm just saying like compared to some of the other conventions we go to, this time they told us like they would not like us to do this or that. So we kind of.
No, I think we're misunderstanding. But anyway,
I don't.
I think next time we should sit down and play a couple of things, especially with the people who make their own games, and maybe talk with them a bit. But it was a good time. We met some cool people and we did some interviews, which you can see on our YouTube page. And we spoke with Michael O'Brien again, who's the vice president of Chaosium, and we're going to hopefully go to Chaosium Con, which is at the end of June, we'll do more sort of tabletop and
it's always good. It's always good to go to these conventions because you see people from all walks of life sitting down playing these creative, imagination-driven games.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to see people doing that. It's interesting because it's Conquest, and I'm sure to a similar degree Chaosium Con, seem to be very much player-driven events, not so much consumer-driven events like PAX.
Yeah.
So I felt awkward watching Michael O'Brien stand there just behind his stall, and everyone else is just kind of like playing their games. And I'm like, it must feel bad to be a trader.
No, I don't think like people still want, it's the perfect place to present that stuff. And, if I was going to any convention, I'd want to see what people had to sell. But like we were talking about, it's not the focus of it.
And it's always crazy to me that like people aren't lining up to get books signed or talk to Michael O'Brien or whatever. Well, because it's this thing where like Chaosium is a huge gaming company.
In terms of this instance, all right, Chaosium is partly based in Melbourne, partly based in America, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, to the local community, he's probably no big deal because he's at all the events, right?
Yeah,
he's
but
part
also,
of the furniture.
Yeah, we were also talking about it. It's just like unless you're really, really into the behind the scenes business side of your favorite game companies, you probably wouldn't know who Michael O'Brien is or what he looks like.
True.
The only exception I would say is, at this convention, he was slightly, not a bigger deal, but it was slightly more important because he was the author of one of the books they were selling. Which is, no.
Well, I mean, that we interviewed him, or Callum interviewed him about that, which was cool because he had written that in the 90s and brought it back now that he's the co-owner. So that was fun.
I feel like if I was buying that book, I'd like to know that he was there so you could sign it, just if he's there already.
Yeah, but it's not like he was going here's my new book. It's like that was just one of the books they had.
Yeah, they had a
many,
I feel bad I'm not rich because like some of the,
I would have blown so much money.
Some of the editions they had that were newer.
I like all the leather-bound stuff.
Yeah, well, I believe you can see that. You can hear Michael O'Brien briefly talk about that on the interview.
I think James we did a video capture of all the tables.
Yeah, the Arkham Source book looked amazing, and I wish I could have bought it. But maybe next time we'll see Chaosium Cons coming up. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's so like it's hard to find time to do anything, and especially on our show when I guess most of our focus is on movies and TV, which is my passion. So that's the stuff I spend most time on. But I really like every time we go to one of these things or we talk about it, it's just like I want to play more tabletop because I haven't played much, and I want to buy all the books and all the dice and all this, that, and the other. But we never have time, and it is a lot of work, especially for the DM.
Oh, it's a complete pastime in and of itself.
Yeah, so you really have to be committed to it, and we can't really always do that. But I mean, I remember I think during lockdown or just after lockdown, it's like I bought all the D&D books, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the GM for my other group of friends who aren't into tabletop like you guys are. Like we've played together. But I was like, I'm going to try to be the spearhead of... I still haven't even opened those. They're still in the plastic.
Are they 5th edition?
I mean, whatever the last 5 years of...
Yeah, no.
What's wrong with 5?
See, we're on RuneQuest now. Is it RuneQuest?
No, we're on Old School Essentials.
No, what's the one that we bought the starter pack for at Chaosium? Was it RuneQuest?
That was RuneQuest.
Oh, yeah, RuneQuest.
We're on RuneQuest now.
Yeah.
Get with the times, Callum.
No, but this was like, COVID, like 2020.
Before Hasbro tanked it all.
Yeah. Well, it was, it was still sort of, respectable or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in any of that stuff, be sure to go to our YouTube page. And yeah, in June, we'll have more sort of Chaosium and
we'll try and go a bit deeper. We only went to one day of Conquest, but I feel like we'll go all 3 days for Chaosium, and we'll engage more.
I was just talking to Nathan before we turned the mics on. It's like we just have to plan, and because we all work, and this is like something that we sometimes just have to quickly slot in somewhere. But yeah, we'll come up with a plan and have some more.
If you're local, come say hi to us at Chaosium Con.
100%.
Play a game with us.
Yeah. Or if you have a game, let us know. We'd like to check it out. Or, if there's... I know there's a lot of tabletop conventions which we always miss or don't have time to go to. So.
I realized at the Conquest that there's so many that I didn't even have no idea about.
Yeah.
Like, they have, like, meetings once a month. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on.
Oh, there's so many.
I don't have the time or the money
we
for
weren't
this.
even aware of Conquest until we interviewed Nephis Nile. And unfortunately, she, I don't think, ended up going to Conquest. But, like, it's just like there's so many. And, they pop up on social media and stuff. It's like, oh, I want to go to that one. And it's like, oh, we don't have time. We don't have money, whatever. But, yeah, there's always something going on. So... yeah, we just slowly got to plan out, and we're going to a couple more this year. We'll go to PAX again this year.
Got everything.
Yeah, so...
yeah. Moving on, I guess we also saw this is the It movie right now. Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
It's the movie everyone's talking about. Everyone's raving about. And I'm glad we went when we saw it, because we had a full house.
Yeah.
I was surprised. We were in the smallest theater of the complex we went to, pretty much.
One of the smaller ones, yeah.
And it was basically full.
Yeah.
I would have had it in like extreme screen.
They didn't,
no, I'm sorry. Only auteur movies like Minecraft get played.
Yeah,
on extreme
screen.
I think it would be on extreme screen, but Minecraft had taken
Chicken
over.
Jockey.
Yeah.
Also, there were a couple of big like Bollywood films out. Maybe they got extreme, because some of them get extreme screens.
But it depends more on the deal with the
distributors.
The movie company.
Yeah.
Like,
but anyway, I would have liked to have seen it in extreme screen, but I'm still glad we saw it.
I wanted to go to IMAX, but again, time and money is
IMAX
not something.
can get expensive.
So I mean, this is something that I was interested in seeing because I like Ryan Coogler. He made Fruitvale Station and then Creed, which is really good, and then he did Black Panther, which
wasn't so cool.
has its problems, but it's like, it's still one of those movies where it's like you can sort of
the
see...
writing of the movie is fine.
No, but
my problems with that movie are everything else.
There's some CG issues.
Some.
But, like you can see, like what I remember watching Black Panther, you can see like, okay, this is still has Marvel problems, superhero movie problems, modern day movie blockbuster problems. But it's like you can see Ryan Coogler's in there somewhere. You can see there's a voice.
He's Coogling his way around.
Yeah. But
I'm
when he announced he was doing a new original movie, I'm like, hell yeah, because this is what we want. And what's great about him doing stuff like Black Panther is like now the studio's given him a blank check to make basically whatever he wants, and he decided to make like a 1930s Depression era South like blues musical / vampire action horror.
People are labeling this movie as like straight horror. I would disagree. I don't think it's straight horror.
It's
a blend of genres, but I would call it closer to like a supernatural thriller or something.
Yeah, there's action elements.
Yeah.
There's
some light drama.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it straight horror.
No.
Yeah, it's not scary.
So if you if you don't like kind of really scary movies, like don't let that deter you from this one. You can still enjoy this movie.
It's a bit gory, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's not straight horror like people are saying it is. So I still, if you don't like horror, don't be deterred.
Yeah,
it's still a good movie to go see,
and
it has a lot of other things going for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Michael B. Jordan is a big enough name now,
and Michael A. Jordan.
Who's A. Jordan?
He's because he plays two characters. You got Michael A. Jordan.
Oh, you got A and B Jordan. It's like, do you remember, we were talking about Dave, you know, the movie with the president.
Yeah.
And
that's a classic.
There's the I talked about the Family Guy joke where he's like, Kevin Kline plays 2 characters. Wait for it. Bam. And he puts 2 fingers up. It's like Michael B. Jordan plays 2 characters. Wait for it. Bam. Yeah. But, yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan is well known enough, and I think the trailer looked good enough.
About half an hour into the film, or even maybe even more, Alan leans over to me and he's like, "Is Michael B. Jordan playing both of those characters?"
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? At least I don't have to wear this one.
Yeah, that's
you just Alan come here to defend himself.
That's usually like a Callum fumble, but this time it's Alan. So yeah, no, but yeah, I think
I was like, I think so.
Yeah, but I really think it's good that an original movie seems to be doing well. I don't know how well it's doing.
It's okay. So if
it's also the hype movie at the moment.
Yeah.
So
but for some reason, certain magazines, which I won't label, seem to be doing hit pieces out on this film because it's only earning $80 million on opening weekend. And then you got celebrities like Ben Stiller replying with, "Why are you framing it that way? It's a massive success."
Yeah.
Because I think its budget was like, how much was the budget? Like, it was quite a lot.
I think it was like 100.
I think it was quite a lot of money. But from all metrics compared to other horror movies, it's doing crazy good.
But also
for context, Minecraft's going to hit $1 billion.
Yeah, but like one.
But horror movies never make that much money.
Yeah,
anyway.
One, judging the quality of a movie just on how much money it makes is stupid. Mm-hmm. A lot of amazing movies flopped when they came out and
also
are now
Hollywood,
regarded
also
classics.
Hollywood accounting.
Yeah, Hollywood accounting.
Just because it doesn't make money doesn't mean it didn't make any money.
Yeah, that's the other thing. But also, it's like, it's just because the cinema landscape has changed. I mean, and it's changed for the worse, as we discuss pretty much every week on this show. The one time this time when a original sort of R-rated, you know, violent, action, horror, original kind of director's vision comes out, I think that's only a good thing.
Yeah, I think studio executives probably feel threatened by it.
Yeah, now of course...
This isn't franchise IP.
Exactly. Now if it's not a huge blockbuster, that means studios are going to be more hesitant to greenlight more original films going forward. But I mean, the fact that we got this one is awesome. And I think, like I said, the reason we got it is because Ryan Coogler is a bankable director who's made successful franchise films, and they've allowed him to do what he wanted. And this is what we got. And I think that's a good thing. Yeah,
and it paid off.
Yeah.
And it's what's even more encouraging is that it seems like one of his next projects seems to be that long-running X-Files reboot that he wanted to read. Do you remember?
What?
Did you hear about this?
I don't remember this.
Yeah. So do you remember ages ago someone mentioned rebooting the X-Files? Someone in like the Hollywood sphere.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan Coogler wants to do it. And like he's saying to people, he's like, this is what I want to do next.
Well, at one point he was actually attached to it, and then I think Black Panther came up. And then it kind of he got sidetracked, obviously, with the Marvel monies and whatever else. And now that he's finished with Sinners, he's like, now I'm going to go back to the X-Files.
So now he's got his horror background, which is bankable because it shows that he knows how to handle a successful new idea.
Yeah.
And now he's like, I want to try and wrangle the X-Files.
What's even more interesting about this is this actually seems to have some like locomotion behind it. Because I think someone talked to Gillian Murphy.
Anderson.
Gillian Anderson.
Anyway, Gillian Anderson. I'll cut that out. I think it's Cillian Murphy.
I mean,
I'm sure my brain was like Ilian.
Killian,
I'm sure he'd kill it in the X-Files. We're going.
Oh, he'd be amazing.
Yeah. But anyway, Gillian.
Dude, Cillian Murphy as like the smoking man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh.
Anyway, so they contacted What's Her Face, and she's like incredibly down.
Yeah.
And David Duchovny, he's already ready to go. He just sits.
He's like, here's
suit.
My script.
He just sits in the suit in his living room, just waiting for the phone call.
So please.
Well, I mean, I'm actually up to the last season of X-Files now. It's taken me years.
The original run?
No, the last season, season 11, like the reboot.
Yeah.
Season 10 was good. Season 11, the first couple episodes, I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, Yeah, like I've only been watching it here and there over the last few years, going through the whole original run of the show, and now I'm up to the new, the last season, which came out in 2018, which is, I guess, the same year Black Panther came out, didn't it? But yeah, it's like watching it now is so interesting because, it's during the first Trump administration, and there's references to that, and there's references to all the, UFO stuff that's been going on there. And now almost, I was going to say almost 10, but, we're getting close to 10 years later, and we're in the second Trump administration, and we've got even more UFO, like UAP whistleblowers in Congress and all this crazy stuff coming out. I'm like, now is the time to bring it back.
Yeah, the vibe is now.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, man, they really, it would be really cool. But we've talked about this many times before, and I always say it, they don't make movies like they used to, and they don't make, now we've passed the golden age of television, and they're just churning slop out. So I'm worried that it's going to end up being a sort of flaccid Netflix.
I think one thing when he was asked
boring,
about...
ugly,
We'll see. When Ryan was asked about it straight up in an interview recently, he said, if we do it right and the way I want to do it, it's going to be terrifying.
Well, that sounds good.
He's going to lean into the horror aspect of the X-Files.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I hope it's good, and I like Ryan Coogler, and I trust him behind it. But yeah, I'm always a bit wary of these kinds of things. Yeah. And also, because there is so much UFO stuff coming out and all this stuff,
it also wears you down.
It's almost oversaturation almost. Yeah. And it's almost like you have to be a really good writer to interpret this stuff into entertaining scripts and entertaining episodes and entertaining seasons. But also, it's been, 20 years of X-Files seasons of movies, and it's like, is this going to get repetitive? Like, what can they do that's a little bit different and new, but also is like, oh, this is identifiably X-Files?
I mean, there are ways to do it. So, like, my mind immediately goes to something like Mulder gets appointed to the UAP task force. And then it becomes a cat and mouse game between him trying to figure out what's real and what's government disinformation.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So it's like he has to go and do these missions for the government, but he's also trying to figure out if the government's spoofing him or not. So there is stuff going on, but then you get into that level of what is disinformation and what is actually, much like the original did too. You know? But it's more of a happening now element where it's like, there is government. There's like a war going on in the government. You've got the Pentagon on one side, Congress on the other, and Mulder's stuck in between. So, like, you know what I mean?
Congressman Skinner.
Yeah.
Send us a check, Chris Carter.
But you know what I mean, right? Like, there are ways to do it, but it's not that's the problem. It's like you said, interpreting the alien stuff and the horror in ways that would feel relevant to an audience that is not like us.
I don't know.
And also,
it's difficult. I think there's always a nice spot for like a monster of the week kind of like.
Yeah, like.
Yeah,
like a dog that has knives for hands and they have to fight. You know what I mean?
Calm down, Stephen King.
But you know what I mean? Like Monster of the Week, where it's like some kind of haunted animal.
But again, like Monster of the Week, it's like there's been so many of those episodes. Like, how can we do? Of course, if you get talented writers and stuff, there's things you can do. But yeah, I'd be down for it, but be wary.
But Sinners. How about that?
Yeah, Sinners? Anyway, Ryan Coogler, he got to make Sinners, which is awesome because he was just like, I'm going to make this weird, like, personal, like, 1930s, like, gangster, depression, deep
relationship
south.
Drama.
Yeah, like, and then I guess, you could, some people are comparing it to From Dusk Till Dawn, where it starts off as sort of a crime movie and then ends up a sort of crazy vampire movie. It has similar elements to that.
Without going into spoilers, I can see the comparisons.
It's not tonally, it's very different to that. And I think it looked really cool. I would have liked to see it on IMAX with the bigger, field of view and stuff. It sounded really cool. Like, it's a very music heavy.
The soundtrack was amazing. And if you like blues, it's worth going to see anyway.
Ludwig Göransson, who did the soundtrack for, did the score for, the Black Panther movies, and like he's just really good composer. But also, the actual blues music that they play in the movie, and it's a very important part of the movie. Like it's not a musical, but it's a very musical film.
It's the essence of the film. It's like it's what drives the emotional part of the film forward. Is the music?
Yeah, and that was really cool, and the actors are good, and some of the action scenes and practical gore is good. There's some not so great CG, but nothing so overtly horrible. But still,
you know what? You say that because you didn't see it in IMAX.
Yeah, maybe if we got a little bit more.
You're right up close to it. Maybe you'll be like, ooh.
Well, I'll see. Like, I would like to watch this movie again. I might buy the 4K disc. So I might at home. I'll be watching at home, and I bet you there'll be a couple of things where I'm like. But and then also because it CG ages so terribly. Something that I saw now, where it's just like, oh, that wasn't very good. It's like in a few months might be awful. But yeah, nothing that bad. I think overall, I really liked it. And again, one of the most important things to me, and one of the reasons I really liked it, is because it's an original, sort of adult-oriented, weird,
it's an R-rated original movie.
Yeah, I'm like, that's important, and I like that. And it's got stuff you don't really see in mainstream movies anymore, just like sex and violence and swearing.
I feel like. On that note, you brought up the sex and stuff. Another thing people have been saying about this movie is, it's bringing sex back to the cinema. I'm like, did no one see a Nora?
That was a low budget indie movie,
and also the sex was kind of over. Like
it wasn't. It was kind of.
There was no nudity.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's still a very
it's tame.
By older movie standards, it's still pretty tame. But considering the mainstream movies we get,
that's it.
It is. There is a lot of sexuality and sex in the movie.
It's funny. It's funny to see people clutching their pearls.
Well, we always talk about it. Like people,
Boy, we'll show you a movie.
We got movies for you. But like, have you ever heard of French or Italian or European cinema in general? They have like G-rated movies with tits out. They don't care.
Yeah.
How about we introduce you to Lars von Trier?
Oh, that's a whole nother
kettle of fish.
Yeah.
You'll be clutching your pearls for multiple reasons.
Yeah, but it's like I think I was saying with Mickey 17, where I was like, that movie had problems, but I'm glad it was like somewhat original, even though it was based on a book. Sort of R-rated, sort of sci-fi weird movie from an auteur director who has a very specific style, and I think this Sinners even more so is like. This guy's got a really big, Ryan Coogler's got the chance, he's got a big budget, which they don't really get anymore to make these kinds of original, he's like his personal sort of artistic vision. So I think on that regard, it's like on that regard, I really like it. And there are most parts of the movie I really, really liked and how it was executed. There's a scene in the middle where they're playing the blues music and it's like a travel through time. And you see different eras of music. It was a one take
too.
Yeah, and
it took like 3 weeks of planning.
Yeah, there's some really cool sequences, but I think it starts to drag a little, and it gets a little clunky at the end.
Yeah, there's some. We won't go into it for spoilers, but there's some subplots they probably could have either shortened or just cut out.
Yeah,
they were kind of unnecessary.
It was like 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20. I didn't feel bored, and I didn't feel like it was too long.
No, but there's especially stuff towards the end when they're trying to pay off some of the other subplots. Yeah. So it's kind of just like, and you've already had a big moment.
You had your big climactic ending, and then they keep going.
Yeah, and it just felt unnecessary, and they could have cut that whole subplot minus maybe a scene.
Or they could have folded it in and had it run more
organically. Yeah, because it's one of those things where you pay off your B plots. But the B plots aren't so necessary to the core premise of the film, where it feels like you're shoehorning it in, but also it feels like this B plot could take away from some of the world building and some of the character development that they could have used to explain things that are revealed later on. Elements that I think they could have fleshed. Spoilers, because we can't really go into the whys and the hows without ruining the film.
No, then let's be careful with the spoilers.
Yes. No, I'm saying I'm not because.
Oh, okay. I thought you were calling out a spoiler warning.
No. But like there are things that I think are really interesting that this film does that we don't really, it's just like, oh look, this happens. And then I'm
they could have explored certain things a bit more.
Like, and just an extra 15 minutes of letting us see and understand a few things.
Yeah,
would give this an extra half a star. Whereas I feel like they bring in certain elements just to pace us off in the beginning of the film.
I think also action wise, even though none of it was terrible, like once they start, fighting the vampires and there's some shootouts and stuff, none of it is particularly really impressive. And I feel like they could have had a lot better like set pieces, especially towards the end where you're trying to defeat certain main villains and heroes are in peril and like I feel like they could have done some more things there where it's just quite simple. Like there's I won't go into spoilers, but there's two main characters who it's a very like emotional head to head, and they're just like on the wood the wood floor, the floorboards, and they're just like rolling around, and one's got a knife, and I'm just like, this should be a really intense, insane like fight scene, but it's just normal. This could be just the end of a TV show kind of.
That's the energy it brings.
Yeah, and then there's another big kind of villain death, and you're kind of like, oh, that was kind of anticlimactic. And then, like I said, it's like this should be the end of the movie, and then it's just like there's like another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now we got a second ending, and then there's a mid-credit scene. I'm like, okay. And there's also an end credit scene, which is
he just wants to keep filming.
Yeah, which, I won't say it's like a Marvel thing, but I was like, oh, they probably could have folded a lot of that into the actual movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
I will discuss this during the break, but I think there's a reason they probably didn't want to fold some of it into the movie.
Okay, yeah, let's go to a break, talk about it, and then when we come back, we'll see if we can interpret it without spoilers.
We'll be right back after these short messages. You are back on the Tuesday Review, live on 98.9 Northwest FM, discussing all things Ryan Coogler's Sinners at the moment. Now, so I think what James is alluding to is the fact that we discuss. It's at the start you figure out obviously the main character lives, right? Because it kind of starts.
We don't have to go full into it. Just say what you were saying with the structure of the.
So at the start of the movie, you kind of see the events towards the end of the movie open. Yeah, they open the movie, and then it kind of flashes back.
We're specifically talking about the mid-credit scene, which I said should be folded into the main story.
So,
and you were saying the reason they didn't do that.
I feel like it will be a bit closer to Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, which I said that doesn't matter because the structure still would have been better.
It would have been better. But
and I'm not saying they should have followed the exact structure of Interview where it's like, here's the present day, here's the past, here's the present day, here's the past. I'm just saying they could have folded that
as a recounting of events from an old
not even
old
that. They could have had before the end credit, instead of cutting to credits.
Just have that at the end.
Don't cut to credits, have that scene at the end and then cut to credits.
Yeah.
Because it's an important part of the movie. Like most people got up and left.
Yeah.
And it said, there was a few credits, and then it went to this scene.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, I think,
I think that type of thing works for comic books because that's what comic books
movies
are. Yeah, comic book movies, because that's like kind of built into their inherent nature of the next chapter.
We've talked about how Marvel is like they're always setting up the next.
Yeah, whereas like I know that Coogler came hot off Black Panther, and maybe he was like, that was fun, I want to do that anyway. I don't know if he has plans for this IP to become a franchise down the line. I doubt it. I hope not.
I think he
tentatively hope not.
I think he said that it's not like a really sequel type of movie. You could, but I don't think you should. I don't think because like we discussed, everything's a franchise.
Yeah, I think that he did it because it's hip to do this kind of thing.
I think it also could have been studio notes.
Sometimes maybe
I would have preferred it, like you said. I would have preferred it to just have here's the end. Yeah. And then if you want to have some kind of amusing little stinger after.
Well, they do that at the end credits anyway.
That stinger at the end, that's fine.
That's not. Yeah, that's something.
But like in terms of this kind of story stuff, you stop the credits, story stuff, and then continue the credits. I don't think it's necessary if you're not a superhero movie.
I feel like I just think
it's not making a superhero movie.
I think it's expected now, unfortunately, in films.
Yeah,
and the studios probably push the directors and the filmmakers. Where's your mid-credit scene?
I also feel like whether superhero movies existed or not and had this trend or not, I feel like sometimes, this is just a feeling I have, I don't actually know. I feel like sometimes modern sort of filmmakers or studios or whatever, because this seems to be a trend in the last 15-ish years. Before that, I don't remember many movies ending and then having a mid-credit scene and then ending again and then having a stinger at the end. There's been some, end credit stingers and stuff. But I feel like more recently there's been movies where it like cuts to the credits and then there's another scene after.
Yeah.
And then it's cuts to the credits again. And I feel like, like I said, whether that's a trend from superhero movies or not, I feel like it's just some studios and filmmakers are maybe a little bit unsure how to end their movie. And so whether it's in the edit or whether they plan this at a certain point, they have a strong ending point and they're like, bam, cut to credits. But then they're like, ooh, we really need this scene for context or whatever, because it ends the story emotionally and maybe not, more satisfyingly. Yeah. But I'm like, you got to work that in better.
Yeah.
There's a way, there's definitely a way, and there's definitely a way with Sinners where they could have done it.
Like movies used to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it used to be
And it used to be okay to you just have one movie and not 700 sequels and
they get worse with every iteration.
Yeah.
Well, also, another thing
with Sinners, they can do double dollar signs, S at the front, S at the end. So
they should have called it Sinner, and then the sequel would be Sinners.
Yeah, and the 2 could be a backwards dollar sign.
Sorry, the third movie would be called More Sinners.
More Sinners.
Two sinners, I don't know.
The Cineast.
Yeah, that's it. Too many sinners. Anyway, another thing about this movie we didn't bring up that I think is worthy of note is it was shot off film.
Yes.
Not only film, but like
IMAX
70 mil. 70 mil.
It was filmed with IMAX cameras.
Yeah. And apparently the woman who was the cinematographer, can you please look that up? This was the first movie shot by a female DOP in 70 millimeter. So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Also,
in the history of Hollywood,
I think so. Yeah.
Also, if this is the first time you're shooting on film, man, I would just be shitting my pants.
No.
If that was the first time she was shooting.
No,
on film.
not the first time she was shooting on film. The first time a female director of photography has ever shot a feature film on 70 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Autumn Durold Arkapour. I'm probably butchered that name, but
shout out.
Shout out. Very well directed.
Well shot film.
Is well shot, and like I said, I'm sad we didn't see it at IMAX.
And you know the good thing about being a DOP is it's never your fault.
What do you mean?
No, like if there's something I don't like about the film, Coogler's problem.
That's it. You just you shoot it to the director.
I guess the director has the final say.
If I'm a cinematographer or a DOP, my work's flawless all the time. Yeah, I bring the director's vision to life. You know what I mean?
Well, there are a lot of stories where the movie starts shooting and then the director is like, "What the hell are you doing to the DOP?" And then they fire them and get someone else to shoot it instead.
Man,
so that happens a lot. But yeah, I guess you could argue that if the director didn't do that early on. Then
it is the director's
but I guess,
burden ultimately.
To live in. So there's a fascinating story. William Friedkin's To Live and Die in L.A. The DOP could not shoot the drive scene, and the second unit director had to do it. So he was just like I can't do it. And so the second unit director's name comes up before he's in the credits. I looked it up, and apparently the director was like, I have no idea how to execute this. Wow. And the second unit director was like, this is my time.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of the times you have like an action like second unit director who directs the action scenes. But yeah,
anyway, that just triggered my memory of that little trivia tidbit. Sorry.
But are you saying like the cinematographer couldn't shoot it?
It was the
William Friedkin as the director,
photographer. You know, the main camera operator.
So someone else had to shoot it.
Yeah, like the guy who had shot the rest of the film didn't know how to do the action sequence.
Yeah.
So the second guy was like, "Okay, I'll do it."
Well, it paid off because that's an awesome car chase.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that.
No. It's all
talking about directors and camera operators.
It's all interesting part of the behind the scenes movie making process.
But a shout out to her, she nailed it.
But yeah, it's a good looking movie, and
I feel like if I was to get this on Blu-ray, it's one of the things I'd like is those kinds of like behind the scenes, especially of the big one shot that we're talking about, the big musical one shot scene.
Yeah. The behind. I think also like, you know, we complain a lot, or I complain a lot. It's like, it's good to have, like I said, original sort of artistic driven movie, but it's like just watching the movie, I'm like, this is a real movie. It might have problems. I might not like all of it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm seeing a piece of content. I don't feel like I'm watching, you know, just whatever slop the studios have churned out for $1. I'm like, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel watching a movie. It's like, this is a real movie. Like, something I haven't seen before. And it has a director's vision.
And as I said before, we also got to see it the best way possible with a theater full of people.
Yeah.
It was packed, you know, people turned up.
Yeah.
So in terms of performances, obviously Jordan nails it in his dual role.
Yeah.
Does a really good job. But Jack O'Connor, man, the riz on that guy.
O'Connor or O'Connell?
O'Connell.
Callum hasn't got his glasses on.
O'Connell,
you need your glass.
Yeah, I don't have my
need
specs. Yeah, man, the riz on that guy. Sorry to use the Gen Z lingo. Even though he's a villain, the way he carries himself in the performance is so energetic, and it's so
what
alluring.
else has he been in?
He's famous for being in Skins, I believe.
Okay, I never watched that.
The English version of Skins, not the American version of Skins, which I've never seen either.
Is he an Irish actor?
I believe so, yeah. English.
He just put on an accent.
But
he's O'Connell.
He's been doing the jig since he was a kid, apparently. But he did have to learn to play the guitar.
Oh, that's another thing. The young man who plays Sammy in the movie, who is like a young a blues musician, who's like kind of a central character in the movie, Miles Caton, really great performance, and really good. You know, like when he sings the blues and everyone's like stand still, you get why.
Yeah,
like he's very talented.
I mean, they're all very talented. All the musicians are very talented because it looks like I imagine they're all playing their own instruments. They're playing these songs because you can watch them like play. You know, you can watch their finger movement on the fretboard, and you can.
It feels authentic.
It feels authentic.
Sounds
like,
authentic.
It feels like they're playing. I don't know. Obviously, there will be overdubs and everything else, right?
Yeah.
The music scenes, but it looks and feels like they're playing those instruments.
Yeah,
it's very convincing.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Preacher Boy, the actor who plays Preacher Boy, I'm sorry, my golfish memory.
Yeah, Miles Caton.
He wants to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe next.
Stay away, my.
Yeah, I don't know. But in terms of Jack O'Connell, he was in This Is England, Money Monster. Eden Lake. So he's been in a few things.
He was the hostage taker in Money Monster.
And he's in 20 Years Later, another horror film slated to come out.
28 years later.
28 years later, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I can't use the language.
He's a villain in that film.
He's a gas expletive in English parlance is what Jack O'Connell phrases him. Which means apparently he's like a... How would you describe gas as an adjective? A lot of fun.
Can you write it down so I can...
Yes, I will message it to you because I can't say it live on air. But apparently he's a lot of fun as a villain, so I think it's going to be interesting to see him chew the scenery.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. He was a good actor. Also, the fiddle, like... another standout scene for me was that jig and reel scene where they're like performing outside.
That was cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah,
and they're all kind of like dancing, and that was a very cool scene.
That was cool.
It's like the opposite to the big one inside.
Yeah. You've got that's a other thing is like you've got dueling. You've got the light side of the music and then the dark side of music, and they explain in the movie. It's like there are some people who play music who it's a spiritual kind of thing.
That's also simplistic, like light side versus dark side. Because
but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. In this context, yes, but the movie's but both sides, both different.
They're drawing from the same.
They're drawing from the same well. Yeah. It's the kind of spirits you let in. And
and exactly, and it's the same power.
It's the same power. It's just you attract spirits, and
that's another thing.
I've seen some interesting conversations about how sinners could be described as a metaphor for the music industry.
I think it can be seen as a lot of things, but that's one
because
interpretation.
Like the idea of like the blues or rock and roll or whatever you want to ascribe to it. Yeah. Like this idea of like it coming from a place of authenticity, but then like, you know, whether you want to be like the white person, like the colonizer, whatever, the corporate influence, however you want to contextualize it, coming in and then taking it for their own purpose and then like feeding off it. And then like, you know, you're not de-enriching it, but you're kind of decontextualizing it from its original place, which makes it lose its power. And like they say in the way the reason the blues is powerful is because it comes from us, it belongs to us, you know, that type of thing. I thought that was there's a lot of takes I don't agree with about this film, because there's a lot of reactionaries online,
of course.
But that's one take I think does have power behind it.
Yeah, I think it's
disenfranchisement is the word I'm looking for.
It also makes it more unique because it's not just a vampire movie. It's not just, you know, sort of an action, sort of have to survive the night thing. It's like there is more of that mystical, you know, musical element.
The blues is so ripe for that too. And also historically,
I feel like the movie has a lot to say about the power of ritual, about the power of those kinds of things. Where it's like if you're doing,
there's also
like they use the kind of like the, I guess we'll call it indigenous kind of magic, like the African kind of magic with like bags,
voodoo and so on.
Those kinds of elements. And it's kind of just like, it's conversations in the movie about, you know, one character doesn't believe it, one character does, and it's kind of just like, but it's the power of belief too.
I also appreciate there's an element of like the obviously there's the suffering that African American people went through, but it's like very specifically like the economic situation that most of these people are in, like with the plantation, and they have to meet their quota and they get paid in plantation money. It's like not real money. It can only be spent in that sort of area. And it's like, I appreciate that authenticity, and it added another layer
100%.
to it as well. I think one of my problems is the climax should have focused more on the music and how the music is powerful, and how Preacher Boy Sammy is like so connected to that, and I think his guitar, which is a very important part of it, should have been more focused on the end as well.
I agree with that, actually. I think music, especially since they talk so much in the movie about the power of music, I'm kind of just like, I'm not saying it should have been like dueling guitars at the end.
Yeah,
dueling banjos.
Crossroads with vampires would be cool. But
I know where you're coming from.
Something else, I also think that weaving the vampire stuff more into the lives of the townspeople and the lives of the sharecroppers and the economic situation would have been more interesting as well, because it feels like it's like a separate thing.
We get like one short scene about vampires being chased, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then
that's a whole nother thing with the Native American hunters.
Yeah.
That's
and then we never learned anything more about that. Put some more about that in, as you said,
or just leave it out. Like you could either elaborate on that scene or leave it out and just have the villains be more mysterious. They just emerge when they start playing their music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're drawn
Awaken.
to it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it
is very good.
It's still, like I said, it's really interesting and really...
It's really well made.
The word I used when we were leaving to Nathan was, it's uncommonly good for what it is. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, because it's an original horror movie, it's uncommonly good at that. Because like most original horror movies will come out and they'll be fine. Like the A24 style horror movies were like...
Yeah, also most original horror movies are smaller
and they don't get the big
movies.
Budget.
Yeah, so it's like...
I liked everything. I think the word we used was just authentic. Everything felt authentic.
Yeah,
everything
it looked really good. I think we saw it with a friend of the show, Rafal, and he was like, he said something which I agree with, which is like, it's like the sort of 1930s blues sort of history element is almost more interesting than all the supernatural vampires.
You could have had just a solid drama.
Yeah, it would have been a really solid drama with the same characters, same actors, same setting, but just about, you know, having a night off from your back-breaking job and, you know, being free and dancing and music.
Maybe the gangster side on like a split.
Yeah, and maybe the gangster stuff and maybe the KKK stuff. But like overall, like, But
that's true. You just follow the bluesman just getting chased out of town after town by other bluesmen who's like, this is my patch.
That would be cool.
Because
I'd watch a movie like that.
They, you know, like if you read read the histories, I'm like, you know, all these different blues artists, they roamed and they traveled, but like, they weren't always welcome, and not because of the white people, but because of other blues people were in these towns. This is my territory.
At the start, near the start of the movie, where Delta Slim, Delroy Lindo's character, and he's like, he's playing the harmonica
Yeah,
at
and
the
he
train
almost got into
station.
a fight.
Yeah, and then Sammy, Preacher Boy, comes and plays his guitar, and he's like, "If you weren't with Michael B. Jordan's character, I would cut you up right now because this is my spot."
Exactly. A movie more interesting.
Delroy Lindo, so good in this movie. He's good in every movie, but I feel like he needs to get a best supporting nomination.
Yeah, he was good in this.
Has he ever been nominated before?
So I think Michael B. Jordan should be nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor.
Best Actors. Yeah. Has Delroy Lindo ever been nominated before? Yeah, I feel like he deserves at least for... He was really good in Da 5 Bloods. Even though that movie wasn't great, he was very good in that movie. Here we go, nominations. Sorry, this isn't very exciting listening.
No, that's okay.
I'm just trying to see if he's... Oscars.
Well, he's won a Tony Award, 2 Critics' Choice Awards, 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards, been nominated for a Drama Desk Award. He's also been received the NAACP Image Award and a Satellite Award.
Nice,
yeah.
But I don't know if he ever got.
But
the
not the big one.
I don't think he got the big one.
Yeah,
I would possibly put him up for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he should have been nominated for The 5 Bloods, or maybe even for this movie. But I don't think he'll get nominated for this movie.
No.
But I feel
it's
like
very hard. Horror movies don't tend to get nominated for stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like this is mainstream enough where it might get some technical nominations.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's also maybe early enough in the year where people forget about it by the time the Oscars is on.
Another thing that made me happy this week, speaking about nominations, the Academy has officially decided that if you're going to be voting for the Academy Awards, you are now required to watch all of the movies up for nomination.
Finally.
So you can't just vote for what your buddy's in. You have to watch all of them now. So,
but it's like how do they
enforce
that?
You just tick a box saying I watched them all?
Probably it'd be built into the software. So they can probably see.
But they get screeners. They get like discs.
There's apps that I'm sure some of them get. But I know there's like big apps they use where they have like all the You can. It's on like Apple TV. You can like see the app. You just can't log into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, hopefully this will improve the voting trends going forward.
That would be interesting to see. Yeah.
I mean, it won't help.
There's still
there's a lot of backroom deals.
Yeah, exactly. And the nominations, the movies that get nominated are not always the ones that should be, and there's always ones missing. But yeah. Before we wrap up, we should quickly mention that there's Ryan Coogler made a specific kind of unique deal for this movie with Warner Brothers.
I believe so.
Yeah, is that who released this movie? Who have been doing terrible things mostly, but I guess he was successful enough with this that with his other movies that they gave him. They gave him the check. But the rights to this movie revert back to him after 25 years.
That should be fair for all.
Yeah, which I guess
IP.
And 25 years is a long enough time where it's
you
like
can milk a franchise.
Yeah,
you make your money now. Like, why are you complaining? People are saying, "Oh, it's terrible." Make your money now, and then he gets it afterwards.
Yeah, and I mean, 25 years is so long. It's like, who knows where he'll be?
Who knows if Hollywood will still be here in 25
years? What's he gonna do with those rights? Is like after 25 years? I don't think he's gonna make a sequel. No. I don't think he's going to. So it might just be something of like, obviously an artist would like to own their own work, but it also might just be a thing of like, once it comes back to him, it's like, I guess it's like I own my own work, even after a long time.
Yeah, they also gave him Final Cut.
That's good.
And he got first gross as well. So I think he was making money off the first gross earnings as well. So they gave him a beautiful deal. I don't know how maybe he made a deal with the devil.
Well,
I mean, crossroads.
Yeah. But I mean, when you make successful franchise films, usually you get your,
let's hope
Nolan. Nolan does Batman, and now they give him
Scorsese Final Cut anymore.
No, Netflix and Apple do. That's why he goes and does movies for them. But unfortunately, the big studios, which is again why this is like a cool situation where a big studio gave a big budget and sort of well-known stars, and gave a director a blank check to make what he wanted. So
I mean,
don't see that a lot anymore.
I'm surprised the smaller kind of studios, your A24s and your kind of Neons and your other kind of really smaller ones. I'm surprised they haven't gone to Scorsese and be like, make what you want, mate. Just keep it a low budget. Go nuts.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is the low budget.
Yeah.
Is like at this point, Scorsese's trying to make bigger and more epic movies, and he's probably not. That's why he goes to Netflix and Apple. He's like, I don't care about the theatrical release, like Tarantino or whatever.
He just
He's
wants
like,
the product.
I just
made,
want
yeah.
the budget to make the movie, and I think that's fair because it's like, you just make the product. Unfortunately, then you don't get physical media releases, and you know who knows what Apple's gonna do to Killers of the Flower Moon in 5-10 years from now, and might cease to exist on that platform. Who knows? But yeah.
Anyway, we're all out of time for tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah.
You can catch the Tuesday Review on all the social media platforms at Tuesday Review AU. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Newsmast, Threads, Blue Sky.
Delete Twitter. It's disgusting.
And YouTube at Tuesday Review AU.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube because we have those videos up that we mentioned, and we have more stuff planned. Always more stuff. We're also on Substack. Yes. The TuesdayReview.substack.com. We're also on Letterboxd. Also, no, before that, rate, review, and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. That helps us out. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. Really helps. We're on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B_90. I am channeldrifter. And I'm Callum Tuesday. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.